Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. On this week's episode, hear what Merschman Seeds dealer Jeff Reints from Shell Rock, Iowa has to say about his experience with Enlist E3. Ben discusses the potential for black cutworms and the importance of scouting your fields. Turk talks the current markets and the upcoming May 12th WASDE report. The Dicamba injury settlement claims are due May 28th. Be sure to get your claim in.
Hi, this is Joe Merschman. Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe, episode number 40, season 3. Today we have Turk and Ben and myself, but today we also have a special guest. Ben, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, today we have Jeff Reints, dealer for us in Shell Rock, Iowa, which would be the northeast portion of the state. And we also have Brian Reginator, our area sales manager for the northeast quadrant of Iowa. So, Jeff, it's good to have you on, and Brian, you too.
Yep.
Jeff, tell us a little bit about your... Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about your dealership. I know you've been a seed dealer for a long time. You're not brand new with Merschman Seeds, but you've been with us for a couple of years. Tell us about how long you've been dealing seed.
Well, I started in the seed business. I was going to junior college over to Iowa Falls at Ellsworth. So that was in 1980. So that shows my age. So this is like my 41st year in the seed business right here in the Shell Rock area. 40 years with a major national brand, and the last 2 years now with Merschman Seeds. And prior to adding Merschman, I also added the Wiffles corn hybrids.
That's awesome. Working with two regional seed companies that are both family owned. They have a lot of the same similar features that Wiffles does, that Merschman Seeds does. So with that being there, how have the Merschman Seeds Enlist E3 Soybeans and the LLGT 27s yielded against the competition in the past couple of years? I know you have a gorgeous plot. I've been up there a couple times. How's stuff yielded?
Yeah, the E3 beans have been definitely right with, if not slightly better than the previous Dicamba traded beans. And one of my big factors was, and I do all the spraying on our farm operation, that spraying Dicamba is an absolute pain in the you-know-what, trying to match all the rules and regulations and the wind, and you still end up dinging other people's beans. So the E3 system is just so much simpler and every bit, if not better, weed control, especially if we can't mix Enlist 1 with the Liberty, that there's nothing but beans survive that pass.
Yeah, it's a really, really effective, two mode of action post pass that's really effective on water hemp and the things we chase there. So what varieties are you excited about for next year? You had some experimental stuff going in the plot last year. What worked well in your area? What varieties are you guys really excited about for this coming year? Yeah,
in our part of the world, we're mostly in that 2.0, maybe a 1.9 to a 2.6. That new Cheyenne variety, the 2220s, looked really good in my plot last year as the experimental, and we got some of those in the field. Then there's a new 2.5, 2225, new Chickasaws. We got a couple bags of those we put in the field. Some I'm really curious about. I'm actually growing seed beans for you this year with a 1.3 and a 1.5, a new bean. That's a little earlier, but we do have a group of people that like to do that early bean, get them harvested early, whether it be, they got manure applications coming in or want to get a cover crop established, or maybe this year might be a really strong basis for that first half September or mid-September bid. So those are kind of the ones, and the good old, the Cheyennes and the Apaches and Osage have been our go-to bean here the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're really excited about the new beans coming on, and those 1.3s and 1.5s that you're grazing for seed production are stellar when it comes to how they yield against their competitors in the checks. So we're really excited about those. So what are planting conditions like? What has the past month in northeast Iowa been like? Did you have a lot of guys going in early, or are you talking dry soil in northeast Iowa, or what things look like?
Yes, we are extremely dry. This has got to be record breaking right here at this farm at our home location here. Our last rainfall was a half inch on April 7th, and we had a little drizzle on Monday that amounted to half a tenth. So we are in extremely dry conditions. Guys are setting the planters a little bit deeper to make sure they're in moisture. Really concerned about herbicide effectiveness, not getting that rain to get the herbicide into the root zone for weed control. But you get just north of here, we got some farms up by Clarksville, and Sunday night they had 3/4 to an inch of rain on. So they're sitting real good. But virtually the corn is 99.9% done. Beans are probably in that 90-95% done around here. So extremely fast paced planting. We didn't start corn till about April 18th, which is, we had some awful cold weather in there. A few customers and neighbors, one started on April 7th. Really concerned with some of those really cold nights on that, but that all seems to be getting established really good. So time will tell.
Right. You had any beans and corn up out of those super early plantings?
Yes. Our first 2 or 3 days of corn planting, I checked those fields last night and they're all emerged, just in that VE, not quite the V1 stage. And some of the early beans, we started beans about that same time, about April 19th, and they're just cracking the ground right now.
Great. Brian, how's your, you cover a little bit bigger area. How is the planting conditions and the corn and soybean emergence? I'm sure you had just as many customers going in early. How's things look on your end?
Yeah, the earliest planting that I'm aware of was April 4th over by Stanley, Iowa. Had one of our dealers put some beans in, and they're up out of the ground. They actually look really good for what they kind of had to go through with some of those real cold nights. So, but overall, it's really, my territory split sort of in half. It's like a Highway 30, maybe highway or Interstate 80, but north of my northern part of my territory, they're pretty well wrapped up. A few guys still getting some stuff in. You get south of 80 very far, and they're still getting they're probably halfway. So I'd say 60% probably down there, but up here they're pretty well wrapped up. And that there's a couple factors with that. Up here, they didn't get that last snowfall we got down south. So they started with drier conditions to begin with, and then they haven't hit some of the rains that we hit down there this fall. So
yeah, overall, we couldn't have had better planting conditions. I mean, plant in the dust, the bins will bust, but you still got to have a little rain after that dust. But the conditions we had this spring were just fantastic. I mean, you got to have a real good planter set up, everything in tune, watching sidewall compaction most years. This year, I think you could have planted with an old shoe planter, an old 494 or a 400 cyclo, and still got a real good established yield. So yeah, we just had super running around here.
So what are you guys excited about? I'm going to start with you, and then we'll transition into Brian. What are you guys excited about this year? Is anybody trying anything different, anything new? What are the trends going on? What are the new and exciting things that are happening in Northeast Iowa?
Oh, we played around a little bit. We tried working with one agronomist I work with. He's seen some response to some powdered zinc, just treating the seed, especially seed corn, with that. We had a few little logistic issues or flow issues with it, but we're going to see how that should show some early response, maybe a little difference in emergence. Probably the one thing up here, and I know we're going to touch about it, but it's a good time to bring it up. Right here in the Shell Rock area in Butler County, we have a new soybean processing plant going in, Shell Rock Soy Processors. It'll be a 40 million bushel a year plant, or about 110,000 bushel a day soybean plant. And actually it's on some of my family's farmland, on my uncle's farmland. They started construction last fall, moved just a massive amount of dirt to make the plant, and now they're starting to do basically the groundwork, the footings, the deep borings, and all that type of stuff, and that should be online. Projected to be fall of 22 that they'll be crushing. And the whole market, I know Turk will sure talk on the markets, but this soybean oil and this renewable diesel, as I'm closely working with the people with this plant, that's pretty exciting. And actually this new plant, Phillips Petroleum has signed an agreement with this plant to procure all the soybean oil to go into renewable diesel from this plant. So that's really exciting.
Absolutely, Jeff. I mean, that's awesome. It's going to help the Northeast Iowa farmers. It's going to bring good basis in. It's going to bring good demand in for the soybean world, and that's what we all want. Brian, what's exciting on your end of the world? What are guys trying? What's different? What's new?
I obviously the people that are trying Enlist E3 for the first time, I'm excited to get into application season here very soon, and be able to them to see the results versus what they've been using, and the ease of use. Have a lot of new customers up especially in Northeast Iowa this year that I'm excited for them. I'm excited for the Enlist E3 trait, to be able to get more hands on that and people really see what it'll do and how easy it is to use and safe to use. Yeah. So those are really the things that I'm excited about.
One thing we're starting to see a little bit, and I'm recommending my customers, is we're just dialing back that population on the beans just a little bit. I'm almost pushing some customers out of their comfort zone. You know, they're used to, well, I got to plant 170,000 in that 30-inch row. I said, no, let's at least go down to 150 and try a couple rounds at 125 and just see how it does. So be excited to see how those population trials and the customers' response to that.
You want to touch on population for a little bit?
Sure, we can talk about population. And Jeff, I think that's a really good recommendation to your customers. Number one, save some money on seed cost. As farmers look at their seed, it's not getting any cheaper, and saving some money on seed, and they'll see the results are there. And then the key thing is when you lower population, you got to have good weed control, because sunlight's never wasted, as they say. So, but with the Enlist E3 system and the LibertyLink GT27 systems, you've got ways to control weeds. So I think that's real good advice, and that's what a good dealer does, is look out for the profit for their customers, instead of trying to push more sales. Farmers need profits, and I think that's great. And we've gone as low as 40,000, and I think one of the most amazing things that in the reproduction of the new varieties, many times we'll have one bag, and they'll plant that one bag at 6 pounds per acre the first year in the development of the new variety. And even at 6 pounds, they can still yield 75% of normal. If you tell a farmer that, would you plant 6 pounds per acre and expect 75% of normal? They would. No. So then when you tell them 125 to 135, you say you got a lot of margin there, safety.
One other thing and a couple customers have asked, last year when we were treating beans and we were in that $8 to $9 soybean market, do I want to spend the $12 for Saltro? No. Now this year, that $12, and we're looking at a $14 fall bean price, and who knows where it's going to go. I've had to reorder Saltro twice now because customers are, hey, I want to maximize that yield out there. This is the year to take advantage of every opportunity.
That's a good point, because do you have much problem with sudden death in your area? Do you have a lot of problems with white mold, or do you have any problems with brown stem rot? I mean, are those problems that you fight on a year in, year out basis?
Yeah, we definitely have issues with white mold and sudden death, especially fields that have a history of it. They tend to just keep getting worse. We're a fairly heavy corn area, so there's a fair amount of beans go onto that third or fourth year corn rotation, there maybe we're not quite as using the Sultro as much, but if it's been a 50-50 rotation, definitely I recommend that Sultro added on as a seed treatment.
And that lower population you're recommending, that really helps on your white mold too, because the more air we can get through that canopy, the less likely, because the fungus enters through at the flowering stage, and if you got a dense canopy, you have more problems with white mold. So you're doing the farmers a favor there too.
One of the last things I wanted to touch on was the you experienced derecho last year and through the heart of your sales territory, maybe the southern part of your sales territory. What are guys doing different because of that storm? How has that, touch on that just a little bit, how has that affected the planting progress of this year? And what does the, what's infrastructure look like? Have guys got their bins and stuff put back up?
Yeah, and in case anybody doesn't know what a derecho is, that's a really strong straight line wind, almost to hurricane proportions. Went right through central Iowa. I know some farmers lost every bin on their farms. They lost machine sheds. Just total devastation, not to mention the crops. Go ahead, you tell it from firsthand perspective.
Yeah, so there were lots of farmsteads just completely devastated. Some people lost the entire farmstead, including the home, with that storm. So that happened August 10th of last year, and cleanup it's probably not going to be done for another 2 or 3 years. But for the most part, infrastructure-wise, cleanup's done. Bin storage is still at a premium up here. They just can't build them fast enough where they've lost them. So there's still that issue. But the biggest issue in field has been the concern of volunteer corn, of course. Now, the weather could have helped us out a little bit because we didn't get a real deep freeze to preserve any part of that kernel. So there's a lot of rotting on top of the ground and rotting just in that little bit of soil that was still saturated and never really froze. So that kind of helped a little bit, but that's a real big concern going into application time is all the volunteer corn we're going to have, because there's a lot of people that harvested no corn, either tilled it under or mowed it or did whatever they needed to do for residue management, because that's pretty much all they were doing. So that's been the biggest concern.
Yeah, it missed us. We were just north of that ratio. You kind of had to get to southern Grundy, the Dysart area and south. And so, yeah, we didn't, knock on wood, we didn't experience that last year.
I was going to say on August 10th, that's a date that's in my brain. And the reason why is because that's when our office burnt down in 1985 on August 10th. So if you can get by August 10th raising crops or being in the seed business, you got it made, it sounds like.
Well, if we remember, I think Ben was with me. We drove up to Jeff's plot that day, August 10th. We drove up through Cedar Rapids, and we could tell it was getting windy. We had a plot day. It rained a little bit here, enough to make it a little muddy. But when me and Ben drove back through Cedar Rapids, it was like entering a whole nother planet down there. I mean, it was just, and on the way up, it wasn't that way at all. But when we went back, it was something to witness. So,
Turk and Joe, you got any more questions for these guys? We can let them back to working on everything that they're working on today.
Well, we sure appreciate your time, Jeff, and appreciate your business. And Brian, you're doing a great job up there getting everything done. And let's have a great year.
And stay safe.
You bet. We like working with you guys. Like I tell my customers, ask me about, leaving the major brand. I said, well, there's 3 P's and I don't know which one ranks higher. They are all tied: people, product, and performance. And you guys are offering all 3, and really appreciate working with you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you
for joining us this Friday morning on Cup of Joe, and we'll talk to you all soon.
all right.
Thanks. Have a good day. Have a good weekend.
Well, Ben, that was a great interview and a great update. It's hard to believe that some places are so wet and some places are dry. If we could just move it around a little bit, right? Everybody'd be happy. But
That's right.
Good to see that they're getting the crop in great shape. And I really like to comment about how the old planter could even plant in these conditions this year.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Turk, the markets are on fire right now.
They are. They are on fire, continue to be on fire, and look for more fireworks next week as the May 12th will be, the WASDE report will come out, and as everybody thinks the government may have overestimated numbers last time, there may or may not be a correction in this report, but I think the trade is trading numbers way lower than what the last report showed, and nothing's really changed. It's still dry in South America. Supplies are China's still buying corn. Rumors are need a lot more. And if South America is not going to be producing it, there's only one place to come.
Yeah, and this crop's not going in perfectly. We're going to have cold weather till May 12th until it turns around here, and we got the South and Missouri, Southern Illinois wet, and we got the North dry, Northwest Iowa dry, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota. So there's enough firepower to keep the bulls happy, and looks like some of the funds came in this week and bought a few more things. And I've seen one expert say, don't sell anything right now until we see how this crop gets in and see what happens after that. And of course, the key date being around the first part of June or 1st of June. If we see the crops in and off to a good start with good stands, well, then maybe the bears will start talking about the big crop we're going to raise.
I think farmers have the doors locked right now. They're not selling anything right now.
And the basis is still expanding
Very
upward.
strong.
And that's a totally projection of demand. In other words, until this basis moves backwards a little bit, but watch the basis. If it's still going up, it looks like they're willing to pay more for your crop.
Not only is China wanting to buy more corn, so is the ethanol market trying to produce more volume of ethanol because of demand for ethanol. So a lot of things helping the corn market out. The soybeans are going to keep coming along, and again, it remains to be seen where this number is going to end up as far as the ending stocks, but it's going to be tighter than what the market can stand.
Yeah, and then, unfortunately, that's all the good news, but unfortunately, everything is going up.
Yeah.
So here, when farmers have a great opportunity this year, when they come back in next fall and start looking at fertilizer prices and just, chemicals, seed, everything's going to go up.
Fuel,
everything's going up. So you're going to need those dollars.
Yep.
That's what makes this game so much fun, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't know, too much fun sometimes. Ben?
Well, I just have a little touch on the cutworm update. We definitely have cutworms. I've had calls in from guys from Missouri, Central Illinois, Southern Illinois, Iowa. The cutworms are out there, so make sure you're scouting. Make sure that if you get to a certain point, I'll post the how to handle black cutworms on Alex will help me post that link there. But what your thresholds are, but make sure you pay attention to scouting your field, because now that we got this corn crop in, we have cutworms out there, so just be aware.
Prior thresholds for when you pull that trigger are probably half what they were.
Correct, because of the price of the crop is so high. So I will post that because it gives you the dollar amount and how many plants can be clipped and everything like that.
Can't afford to lose any at this point.
So the first fields emerged are going to be the ones you're going to have to watch. Cold, damp conditions favor the black cutworm. That's what he considers perfect weather for them. And of course, seed treatments do have some effect, particularly the insecticides that are on the corn. But unfortunately, you got to eat to die.
Yep.
So it's kind of like you lose the battle, you win the battle, but you lose the war. Because and Turk, you were saying that some farmers are replanting stands at 25,000 because they want to stay on maximum yield this year?
There was, Ken Ferry had an article out talking about some farmers in Illinois are tearing up stands at 25 to 26,000 because with $6 corn potential and maybe higher, and their yield goal is 250 to 300 is what they're after, and you just can't get that number with 26,000 stand. So they're tearing those up and getting that numbers up to 20, hoping to get those numbers up to 36. So that's what's going on right now.
is what, 1,000 plants is worth what, 6-7 bushels? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So your stand is critical. The other thing that article put out said park the planters, right? Until we
Yep.
get through this cold spell.
Yeah, this cold spell, they're talking about the chilling that we're going to be looking at through the weekend and the first part of next week is going to be very hard on that hidden yield potential, that inhibitional chilling that those seedlings can endure, that you can't see, you can't measure at all, but it's going to affect yield in the end. So make sure the soil temperature's up so that first drink of water is warm.
24 hours in soybeans, 24 to 48 in corn.
Yep.
Well, so many decisions that are critical to profitability. Ben, do you have anything else?
That's it.
Okay, I just wanted to remind all the farmers that there is money on the table that Monsanto put in a pot, and it's approximately $300 million for damage from Dicamba for the crop years from 2015 to 2020. There's a deadline coming up on that, and that is May 28th. So if you had injury from Dicamba drift, there's money sitting on the table. All you got to do is make the claim. We'll put the site up. So if you were harmed in any way, you can get those bushels back. And, those bushels back right now, if you're not in the field, if you're not planting, that would probably be a good investment of time is to get those bushels back that you lost if you felt that you had some damage. So we'll put that link up and let you take a look at it and see the process. So that brings us to a couple of corny jokes. And these are definitely corny, okay? So grit your teeth, okay? What do you call a reptile that waters crops? What do you call a reptile that can water crops? Irrigator. Irrigator, yeah, okay.
Yep.
Now it's graduation season, we got high school graduations going on. We also have college graduations. So what do you tell a corn plant after it graduates? What would you tell a corn plant after it graduates? Congratulations. I told you they were bad. Well, anyhow, let's hope it warms up a little bit. We get back in the field, and those areas that are dry, we hope you get a nice gentle rain. And please be safe out there. That's the most important thing. And we'll see you next week. And again, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive this program. Thank you for your business. Take care.